Can you hear me? Okay, great. I'm on a body mic. You guys are so handsome. And so thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for allowing me an opportunity to come and be with you this morning and talk about some of the programs and services within Montgomery County's Department of Health and Human Services, Aging and Disability Services. That is a mouthful. So I always like to start with a little story about my background, to give you context about how I got to where I am. And so right out of undergrad, I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I went to undergraduate at Kentucky State University. And my very first job out of undergrad was serving as a direct service professional, where I developed curriculum for individuals that had a dual diagnoses that had mental health diagnoses as well as had intellectual and developmental disabilities. So I ran a partial hospitalization day program where I was with them for 4 or 5 hours every day, and then I went out and provided individual case management. Had nothing to do with my degree, but I was like, hey, this seems very a very good place to land after school, and did not know that the knowledge that I acquired then would carry me to where I am. How I came into the aging network was through a lived experience. So I served as my mother's caregiver, where after she had a health event that required a lot of rehabilitation, and I served as her primary caregiver. I had never served in a role like that, did not know anything about her health condition, but I learned quickly. And 1 month before she was cleared from physical therapy, where she returned to work and then retired, I got a call from the local area agency on aging. Had no idea what that was. Asking me to come and run their caregiver programs. I had just finished being a caregiver, had learned boots on the ground, all about that, and had no idea that an area agency on aging existed and the resources that they provided. Started there, and I feel like that's what really launched my career into this space. I fell in love with the Older Americans Act, and I shifted gears. Whereas I was law school bound, I changed tracks and decided to stay in the field of aging and grow my career there. The Older Americans Act is something we'll discuss here shortly, but I really feel driven and passionate and positioned to do this work. So I'm very excited to serve in this capacity and continue to be in this community. And so today is about connecting people with programs and services, so a lot of resources here. So we're going to jump into some of these slides. Today's objective is to understand the mission and the structure of aging and disability services, to learn about some of our programs supporting older adults and persons with disabilities. So just put some of the key programs in the interest of time on here. We have significantly more, but I'll tell you how to get connected to those. Strengthening our community collaborations. And so one of the things that we are focused on and prioritizing from the Department of Health and Human Services is really deepening our community connection and getting out into the community. And then education and empowerment. Those are the goals for today. All right, so by show of hands, who remembers Dr. J. Kinney? What about Dr. Odile Brunetto? So they were the previous chiefs of Aging and Disability Services. I serve as the third chief of the service area. And I believe Dr. Kinney used to come and speak to this group many, many years ago. So I have big shoes to fill. So here's some stats from the U.S. perspective. Approximately 17 million people need care at home. And studies have shown that 30 to 50% are able to save money by getting home and community-based supports. That's what HCBS stands for, okay? And so the Older American Act, you heard me mention that, is legislation that was born out of the 60s, and it defines an older adult as someone aged 60 and older. What the Older Americans Act did is establish what we call state units on aging. So if you've heard of the Maryland Department of Aging, every state has a state department, and it created area agencies on aging. There are 670 area agencies on aging across the United States. And we operate the largest one in Maryland. So there's 19 jurisdictions in Maryland, and we have the largest one here in Montgomery County. Persons aged 60 and older currently make up about 25% of the U.S. population. And by 2030, there will be a projected growth expected up to 100 million, which represents 30%. So here in Montgomery County, we have the fastest growing demographic. So our older adults here in Montgomery County are growing at a rate of about 28%, as opposed to those under the age of 60 that's growing at about 7%. Okay. Approximately 40% of older adults report living with some form of disability. And according to the U.S. Census, 12.7% of the U.S. population lives with a disability. So I'm going to jump to the next slide. Here's some stats for Montgomery County to give you a perspective. And I am dealing with a change of seasons, so a little bit of drama. So we'll say, we'll jump into the 25% of 60 plus older adults live alone, and 80% of 65 plus residents own their home. A stat that's not on here is about 39.8% of older adults here in Montgomery County were born outside of the U.S. And so the two stats at the bottom about home and community-based services, waiver services, we're going to get into that a little bit more. Just want to point that out because it's here on the slide. Okay. So here's some of the demographic information for our older adult population here in Montgomery County. So women are outpacing men in the white category. Asian category is about equal. In the black community, men are outpacing women here, and same with Hispanic population. There's more outpacing. So, A&D, our mission is to affirm the dignity and value of seniors, persons with disabilities, and their families by offering a wide range of information, home and community-based support services, protections, and opportunities that promote choice, independence, and inclusion. What does that mean? So, our three divisions primarily focus on aging in place in the least restrictive, safe environment of your choice, right? And so, I'll get into what that means from a practitioner standpoint here shortly. My colleague, Pazika B, will talk about aging in place from the village movement perspective. So our area agency on aging, the programs and services in this division of our service area focuses on aging in place and caregiver support. So we'll talk about some of those programs. The Community Support Network provides primary services to our disability population, promoting independence and inclusion. And then our Adult Protective Services case management services, which we'll talk a little bit more about, is our advocacy and stabilization unit. So let me go back. So Aging and Disability Services is under the umbrella of the Department of Health and Human Services. We are an integrated, no wrong door approach department. We're the largest department here in the county. What that means is it's a seamless movement from between 6 different service areas. Aging and disability is one of 6. So we also have public health services, children, youth, and families, behavioral health, services to end and prevent homelessness, Office of Eligibility Supports. Those are the other departments that are under the umbrella of Health and Human Services. So what that means is I am right next door to the Chief of Services to End and Prevent Homelessness on one side, Children, Youth, and Families Chief is on the next. So if there is a case that comes in through my area, I can go knock on their door, I can reach across the aisle, and it may be a family that needs supports in their areas as well. And we're able to get them connected through one seamless entry into aging and disability services. That is a unique structure to Montgomery County. It has proven to be very beneficial here. And honestly, having worked in some other states, Kentucky, Atlanta, Ohio, yep, those are my states. Yep, Ohio is a state. Atlanta is a city in Georgia. So having worked in those other spaces, their structures are not that way, right? And there's much benefit in being aligned that way. So Aging and Disability Services has state and federal connections. We are one of probably the only service area with the most connection outside of our partners in the Office of Eligibility Support Services with connection to state and federal government. We are we have regulatory oversight at the federal level through the Older Americans Act, and then our state unit on aging, our Developmental Disabilities Administration at the state level, Maryland Department of Health, Department of Health and Human Services at the state level. These are some of our state partners and governing bodies over the programs and services within aging and disability services. We provide program oversight and administration, and we ensure quality, equity, compliance, and fiscal accountability for those regulated programs from feds and the state. All right, so here's our first division that we're going to look at, our Area Agency on Aging. Access is one of the main players in our area. Our Aging and Disability Resource Unit, which we call the Maryland Access Point, is a point of entry for all aging and disability services. And so we are constantly promoting our 3000 line. It's 240-777-3000. That's the number to always call in regards to anything with aging and disability services. This is a team of specialists that are educated and trained across many programs and services in the county that can provide resources and get you connected. If there's, wanting to get connected to some of our waiver services through our Medicaid long-term care, they can do a level 1 screen to start that process for individuals. So it's the place where we direct everyone to gain access to services. And then we have our wellness programs. So we have programs. I heard someone over at the tables earlier talking about social isolation. And so we know as we age, social isolation is not good for us. So we want to make sure that we offer programs and services that help individuals stay connected to their community and being engaged with other individuals. So we have a plethora of programs and services under wellness. We have programs that exist in our senior centers through our rec department. We have a lot of wellness classes, one being Bone Builders, which is a very popular program. So it helps maintain bone density, muscle mass. It's an exercise class. We also have Pearls. These are just a couple of examples, which is an evidence-based model that helps in older adults that are dealing with some mental health needs to be able to work through this program. It is a community-based program that we work with Holy Cross to administer, and another entity that administers this is CCACC. And so we're trying to grow some of our evidence-based programs with our hospital partners and such, so individuals can gain access to that. We do also offer for our Bone Builders a hybrid model, so you can do it virtually online or you can participate in person. It is a very popular program. We normally have wait lists in our rec centers for it. So shameless plug. We are always looking for volunteers to become Bone Builder instructors so that we can grow that program. So if you are looking for a volunteer opportunity, this would be something to consider. We have advocacy. So I talked about aging in place. Most people think that's staying in your home. But I also talked about least restrictive, safest environment. right? There may come a time where you have to leave your home, right? And enter into a nursing home or assisted living facility. And just because you go into institutional care, that doesn't mean that our reach and our connection to you ends, because you're still part of this community. So our services are primarily home and community based. And so when you enter a nursing home or assisted living facility, if that is the case, you are still part of this community and still part of us, so we have a reach. With our long-term care ombudsman program. Our ombudsmen serve as advocates in our facilities to help residents understand their rights, to advocate on their behalf if there's a complaint or issue with the facility. So this team of advocates will go in and work in those facilities to help residents have a better experience in those facilities. They provide training and education to those facilities regarding the needs of our residents, so on and so forth. They work with residents' rights councils as well as family rights councils to provide education and oversight. In our 34 nursing homes and 238 assisted living and group homes here in the county. So another shameless plug. We also accept volunteers in this program if you're interested. And so then for supports, we have our National Family Caregiver Program. In this program, we support informal caregivers. I told you I came into the aging space providing informal care for my mother. This was the program that I went to run. So this program provides 5 major components to support informal family caregivers. We provide education, so materials to help you along your caregiving journey. Remember I said I knew nothing about my mother's healthcare condition, right? We can get you connected to support groups so you can be connected to other individuals that are providing care. And I'm sure many of you in this room at some point in life have provided primary care for someone. May it be a child, may it be an aging parent, may it be an aging relative. And so, that can be, very stressful. It can be a lot of work. So we provide supplemental and supportive services, so we get individuals connected to resources such as our senior nutrition program, things of that nature, but we also provide respite. So as a caregiver, you need a break. It's a lot. So we provide temporary relief from your caregiving responsibilities. We have a contract with one of our community partners. By the way, Aging and Disability Services has over 180 something contracts. There's no way we could have the reach that we have without our partners. Senior Connection, our different players that we work with that are doing great work in partnership with us. And so respite is a key component of that program. Then you have our senior nutrition program where we focus on 2 components to this program. Nutrition is the primary, always, and then social engagement. So we have 2 components of our senior nutrition program. We have home delivered meals. So for individuals that are homebound, can't get out and they're eligible, they can get meals delivered to their home. Then we have our congregate meals, which happens in our senior centers. Again, partnership with the Department of Rec, where we provide a hot meal every day. And that is for individuals that are 60 or older or individuals with a disability. They can go and engage in a community setting and in our senior centers and have that engagement as they share a hot meal. So our home and community-based Medicaid waiver services, I'm not going to spend too much time here, but these are Medicaid eligible services. Under Medicaid, you have Medicaid long-term care, that is the umbrella, and under that you have home and community-based services, and then you have institutional care. So we focus primarily on getting individuals connected to the home and community-based services, and that is through waiver for your individual needs. And that's for individuals that may have complex medical needs, that may need supports with activities of daily living in their home to remain safe in their homes. So those require, all of our programs and services come with some sort of eligibility. But these are Medicaid eligibility services. So again, going back to our Aging and Disability Resource Unit, that's where they can start that process for. All right. So our community support network. How many people think that aging starts at age 60? It does not. So you are aging the moment you are born. The day after you are born, you will never be a day old again, right? So, it's a continuum, right? And so in aging and disability services, we serve the lifespan, right? And so it starts, of course, in our Medicaid services, but also, again, here's some more Medicaid services, our autism waiver. So children that are have a diagnosis of autism can apply for and get on the autism waiver list, where they provide services in the school setting. So we partner with MCPS for individuals with a diagnosis of autism to receive services while they're at school, to receive those supports. And our coordinators work with MCPS to make sure that all of those deliverables are being met, that redetermination is happening at the state level. And so that's what we do through this unit. And then because you receive child services as a child with a disability, does not automatically mean you go into adult services. There is a transition period that needs to happen around age 13 or 14. And a lot of families don't know that. A lot of families think you automatically go into it. That's not the case. And there are long waiting lists for services. So starting that transition early is essential. So with our coordination of community supports, that is our adult side of services. So once a child transitions from disability adolescent services, they do not move into adult services. We help them apply for and get services and coordination of community supports. What do again, just like on the older adult side, it's individualized. It's based on what that individual needs. It's based on a plan of service that we develop and get approval up at the state level to make sure that it's in alignment with what the waiver allows, okay? So not everyone that has a disability is necessarily in the traditional school system, right? So we make an effort to support those families that may not, one, have waiver services through Medicaid, or have knows about the ecosystem of disability. So we have the My Turn program, where we provide education and outreach to those individuals that may not be going through the traditional school system, or just may not know about the breadth of resources. And so through this program, we also offer small stipends to summer camps and ensure that children with disabilities are getting connected to services. And then there's that word again, respite. So just like what older adults need, persons with disabilities, caregivers, persons with disabilities also need that temporary relief to be able to step away from their caregiving role. So then we have our Adult Protective Services Case Management Unit. Adult Protective Services is the other end of the spectrum of Child Protective Services. If you've heard of CPS, you've heard of APS. APS, however, is of course a little bit different, right? And so at the age of 18, we get the rest of the lifespan. For persons with disabilities, age 21, we get the rest of the lifespan. So Adult Protective Services is a mandated, required service. We cannot operate a wait list. We have to respond to inquiries or what am I trying to say? Any call or any referral. I was trying to find that word referral, couldn't find it. We have to respond to referrals immediately within a specific set time frame. Okay, and so not everything rises to the level of Adult Protective Services. If you call in an Adult Protective APS referral, just FYI, you're not going to get a follow-up. That's not how the system works. And a lot of people call and say, well, you didn't call me back, let me know what's going on. because that's not how it works. So if you suspect that someone, a vulnerable adult, is experiencing abuse, neglect, self-neglect, or being financially exploited, it has to rise to that level for it to be an adult protective services case, right? And I could spend hours on this, I won't, but we are making a concerted effort to get out and educate our communities on adult protective services, because everyone needs to know sort of how it operates, so that we can all be watchful and mindful and help older adults that are vulnerable and in need of care. So we collaborate with law enforcement, hospitals, housing partners. It's a huge ecosystem to support vulnerable adults in this space. And again, if something doesn't rise to the level of adult protective services, then they may still need some supports. So we provide stabilization, again, to be in the least restrictive, safest environment for that individual, okay? Some of our stabilization, we start with our social services to adults. So you don't rise to the level of APS, we will do an assessment through social services to adults to determine what it is that you need, right? It's individualized. So maybe, again, you need some assistance with activities of daily living, so you need someone coming in your home. So that would be our home care services, what we call IHOS, in-home assistance services. Couldn't remember that first. In-home assistance services, where you're able to get supports there in your home. Then our adult foster care. So maybe you need to leave your primary residence and move into a group home setting and get some supports that way. So that's what our adult foster care program is. It's a housing component to that service. Then we have senior care. So maybe you need things like durable medical equipment, right? So that's what you would get through our senior care program. So stabilization services to help you be where you are and be safe. Okay. So under Aging and Disability Services, we have appointed bodies. We have boards and commissions. How are they appointed? By the executive, county executive, the executive arm of branch of government appoints boards and commissions. There are over 90 boards and commissions in the county. And Aging and Disability Services, we support 5 of them, okay? So the first is the Adult Public Guardianship Review Board. Guardianship falls under Adult Protective Services. So individuals that may need temporary or permanent guardianship, we serve as the public guardians. But we have a review board that meets to assess these cases, to review these cases, to determine if the person needs to remain on guardianship or be taken off of guardianship. So this is a concerted effort alongside our county attorney for us to provide this service, but our review board is instrumental. So, Commission on Aging, which I'm sure you all have heard of, right? Okay. So, Commission on Aging is a very seasoned commission here in the county who is known for their advocacy and being able to instrument change, right? Be the instrument of change for older adults here in the commission. The Commission on Aging, yes, appointed by the county executive, and also is required to exist by the Older Americans Act. The Older Americans Act says, okay, we have these 670 area agencies on aging, you need advisory boards. So this is an advisory board of volunteers made up primarily of older adult members who keep their finger on the pulse of all the things that are happening, the trends, and they advise at all levels of government, federal, state, and local level, about what needs to happen to meet the needs of older adults. Then you have the Commission on Veterans Affairs. Speaks for itself. It's a body that works to meet the needs of veterans. They operate an online directory with a host of resources. They keep that current and up to date. Of course, Veterans Day is coming up. They have celebrations. If you've ever seen the bus that is wrapped, Operation Greenlight, riding around through the county, this came out of that body. So they do a lot for veterans and making sure that they're connected to services. Then our Commission on People with Disabilities, just what it says, is the oldest body that really works on behalf of individuals with all disabilities, not just intellectual and developmental, but as well as physical disabilities. So they also have worked tirelessly to educate here at the local government. They advise local government about the needs of people with disabilities. So they felt like also needed to include a body on the disability side that could advocate at all levels of government. So our newest, volunteer committee is our Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Commission. They are similar to the Commission on Aging because they can advocate at all levels of government. So they really focus on individuals that have an IDD diagnosis, right? So intellectual and developmental disabilities, that cognitive impairment, that like autism and things of that nature. So they work, they are the newest body, they're only about 2 years old. So they're really still trying to get their sea legs and get up and running, but these are all volunteer opportunities, shameless plug. So if ever you want to get, connected and serve in a volunteer capacity on one of the commissions, there are announcements that go out to the community announcing, hey, we have open seats on this commission. So be on the lookout for those because it's a wonderful opportunity to get connected and impact and influence the things that are happening for the communities that you want to raise your voice for. All right, we're getting there, I promise. So, Age Friendly Montgomery, who has heard of this initiative? Right, one hand, yay. So, Age Friendly is a global initiative. It not only happens in the US, we recently met with a Pan-American Health Organization in DC, where they brought, they convened a age-friendly working group with some of our international partners, right? That were just coming into the space of age-friendly. So what is that? Age-friendly came out of the World Health Organization and AARP. It is an intentional push to make sure that our communities are age-friendly. And that is inclusive of a built environment, that is inclusive of programs and services, access, all of those things, right? And so it's an intentionality that crosses every domain, every spectrum, every field, every the whole community ecosystem. We feel like it's everyone's job to make sure that our communities remain age-friendly, right? That we consider aging as we develop, as we continue to grow in different spaces, right? And so we have these 10 domains that our age-friendly initiative works through. We came into the age-friendly initiative in 2015. So this year marks our 10-year anniversary of our involvement in age-friendly. You can see we have civic and social involvement, communication and outreach, elder abuse prevention, again, connecting that dot with adult protective services, employment, right? Transportation and mobility, housing, health and wellness, home and community-based services, planning, outdoor spaces, buildings, senior public safety. So on our age-friendly initiative, we have representation from the police department, fire and rescue, a lot of nonprofit organizations, right? And so, shameless plug, we want to grow our age-friendly initiative. We want as many people in this community connected to this initiative because it will take all of us to be intentional to make sure that Montgomery County considers older adults in every aspect of every part of this community. Like I said, we all are aging from the moment we're born. So it's not just something that's relevant at age 60. It takes the whole community to be a part of this. And so we have come to the question and answer period. I will say, I did leave some of the programs and services off in the interest of time. I did not talk about our village movement, which Aviv is going to give you a deep dive into. But I did want to highlight here for your Writing Pleasure, the number for our Aging and Disability Resource Unit, so that you will always have this number and stay connected. Before we go to Q&A, just one last question. How many of y'all have seen our commercial? One person just seen it, that's great. So we just launched a huge marketing campaign. And so you're going to start to see some things rolling out in the community. I wanted to be intentional because, again, I provided care for my mother and had no idea that any of this existed, right? And we get that a lot when we talk to people, like, I didn't know, I had no clue, right? So we want to be intentional and try to get the message out. And that is not isolated to Montgomery County. Every aging space that I've worked in, that's the message that we receive. So we developed a marketing campaign with our Privacy Information Office, and one of the first activities under that campaign was a commercial. And it just ended airing this month, but it's gonna pick up again. So look for it on TV, right? This number is really promoted, but just trying to ensure that we are educating our community about what exists, right? Like I said, I wanna educate and empower folks to be able to get connected to these services. So with that, any questions? Yes.
Just repeat the number again.
Yes, it is 240-777-3000. Absolutely. All right. Any other questions about programs and services? I know that was a lot of information. Yes, sir.
In terms of personal income, which of your services are more prevalent?
Which one of our, so, all of them. We have a lot of programs and services that people call and get connected to. Right now, we have an increase in persons asking about, like, our senior nutrition program, our village movement, people wanting to start up villages. And sometimes we're just getting a lot of calls to get connected to resources outside of aging and disability services, like SNAP benefits, and things of that nature, and different services and other and other service areas that I mentioned earlier that are under HHS. We anticipate a lot of calls with the Medicaid changes about what that means for persons with benefits for Medicaid. We get a lot of information, calls about just wanting to have general information as a result of our campaign. And then, so our calls vary, but many of the programs and services, at least under our AAA, our Area Agency on Aging, are primarily for like senior nutrition and things of that nature. And under our Adult Protective Services is people making referrals because they are concerned about someone. And those referrals come from community members, hospitals, so on and so forth. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there any sort of directory about the adult foster homes that operate within the county? Because I feel like that's a really underground operation, although it's big. But how would you find out where they are, who tees out
That phone number. So that's how you would get connected. And we do have printed materials that program could send and get you connected to how to get connected into that program. You're speaking adult foster care, correct?
Right, that would be in like a group home situation.
Yes, yes. So that program places individuals, what they are working with, it's just like foster care, but they're providing support to individuals in foster, in group home settings.
Right.
Right.
Is there a financial income cap who's eligible for?
Yes, there is eligibility requirements for the breadth of our programs and services. I do not know every single eligibility off the top of my head, but calling that number can get you connected. Yes.
Some of the problems we run into is that someone doesn't financially qualify because the financial income is there, but it's not helping them get what they need.
Get what they need, yes, yes. So in calling, and here's the thing, I'm gonna be very candid, right? So resources, we are resource rich in Montgomery County, but it's still not meeting all of the need, right? Oh, oh, they can't hear the question.
Oh, the
I
question,
hear.
okay.
Okay.
I see.
I'm not sure how far this reaches.
It's-
Or do you
it's
wanna
a
just repeat the
cord.
question?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, just review the
That makes
question.
sense.
Okay.
So her question was about adult foster care, how to get connected to adult foster care. And so again, this number will get you connected to those services. Adult foster care is pretty much like foster care. You're moving into a group home space where there are personnel and individuals there to support you. And provide that oversight. And then the follow-up was that, is there an eligibility component? And I said the breadth of our programs and services, yes, they have an eligibility criteria that you must meet. And I was speaking very candidly, saying Montgomery County is resource rich, and at the same time, we have a growing need, right? If you recall, I said the older adult population is growing at 28% in comparison to the under 60, which is growing at 7%, right? So there is a growing need, which is why we are always advocating for increased funding. Our Commission on Aging is always advocating for increased funding, and our network that we partner with, right? The county may not be able to meet that need because of the eligibility requirement. Remember, we're governed at the state and federal level, so we have to adhere to those regulations when it comes to our eligibility. But just because we don't provide it, we may have a nonprofit organization that's providing some support. So that's why having this number is essential, because this group of individuals can get you connected to a network, get you plugged in. So you may not be eligible even though you need it, right? And you don't quite meet the threshold for the state and federal service that was regulated in A&D, but again, you may be able to find that service outside in our nonprofit community. Yes.
Would you be able to figure this number out through 311? Like, would they figure that number out?
Yes, so if you remember Aging and Disability Resource Unit, when you call 311, they'll get you connected. Or if you just say Aging Services, Disability Services, any makeup of that that name, 311 will get you connected. We talk to 311 all day. Yes.
Thank you. Are any of the services being underutilized or okay?
Good question. Very good question. So repeating the question, right? Are any of the services underutilized? Our My Turn program is underutilized. We are trying to grow that service. We just raised the age under our My Turn program. We used to serve 3 to 13. We just raised that age to 18. Because remember I told you the transition period is critical. And so we're really trying to get the word out about the My Turn program, especially in this last budget cycle. The state DDA, they changed their budget for a program that's called Low Intensity Support Services. We live in the acronym world, so bear with me. So the LIST program at the state level, they just decreased that budget from where a family could get $2,000 a year, they're now getting $1,000 a year. I bring that up because the LIST program at the state level is similar to our My Turn program here in the county. The county funds our My Turn program, so we're making a concerted effort to really promote that program and get that information out to parents. Again, it also provides a small subsidy, but also provides education to families to help them understand the whole disability ecosystem. So that is an underutilized service. I will also say that there are certain demographics that we're just not touching, right? So that's another push under our marketing campaign, is to really get to some of those communities that are underutilizing or not calling to get connected to services, right? Maybe it's a culture thing. Maybe it's we just haven't tapped into those spaces, right? Wanting to work more with our faith-based communities so that we can educate and get folks connected to programs and services.
All
Any
right.
other questions? Yes, sir.
I
You're
think
at
this will
the-
be the last question.
Okay,
and then
this
we'll
will be the
switch
last
up.
question.
Okay.
You're at the county level, are there any services at city levels?
At city levels, so we do work with, the question is, are there any services at city levels? So we do partner and work with, like City of Rockville, Gaithersburg, different city groups. They also have a lot of programming for older adults that is similar in their recreation centers and things. And so we, trying to think of like beyond rec center things. To answer your question, yes, we do provide support to our cities as well, right? I know that Pazit and others have also coordinated with our Commission on Aging to be in those spaces as well and advocate for the entire community. So yes, we do. Yep, you just have to advance. I'm gonna use your mic. Just put that on there.
Mr. Mike.
Yes.
Hi everyone. Before I begin, we're gonna get a feel for who is in the audience. So, who here was born in Montgomery County? Raise your hand. Not a lot. Who here has been living for more than 30 years? Okay, so you weren't born here, but you've been here for a long, long time. I think that makes a big difference. Who here drove to this church for more than, well, barring bike traffic? I'm not talking about that. This is a traumatic experience. More than 30 minutes. Not a lot. So a lot of you are pretty close by. Who here came here with his own car? Okay, who here would have a hard time getting here if you didn't have the ability to drive your car? Come on, be honest. Okay, so why am I asking this? I think we need to put things in context. Dr. McGhee had talked about what county, state, and federal have in terms of infrastructure for you, but now we're turning the mirror onto you as individuals and you as member of this church. So putting things in context. This is one of my favorite cartoons. For those of you who can't read, in the back, there are a couple of guys, they're in the park, and one says, "Sat me down, Pop. You need to talk about aging in place." And then they continue to say, and I told them, aging in place of what? That is people the question. What is the alternative? For most people, the alternatives are few and not ideal. So the vast majority of Americans want to stay at their home. However, questions to be asked afterwards. So this is statistics for longevity. I think Dr. Lee talked about that. We are getting old. You see the little bump downward? What is that? Why did our yes. And I will also add something that not a lot of people know is the fentanyl epidemic. We have a better grasp over it right now. It affected a lot of older adults as well, so you know fentanyl was pretty bad until some people took responsibility for it. But now we're back to almost where we were, and let's hope that it continues this way. Not indefinitely. I don't think mortality is in our cards, but we're definitely living longer. And so we live longer in our homes. So, this is too small. So I'll just say this. You know, remember the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting? Show of hands. Oh my God, we knew so much about parenting, childhood, all these human milestones celebrated, talked about, learned, everything you want to say about it. Do we have a book about what to expect when you're aging? Not that many. And yet, if you're lucky, you get there. And so like every step in the human development where changes are afoot, where adaptations are expected, aging is no different. So for most people, once they become adult, they say, I got this. I've done this, I'll just keep on keeping on, aging, aging, aging. But aging is not a keep on keeping on approach, it's more a call to action. Because the question should be, for you as individuals, and for us as a community, is what would it take? What would it take for us to successfully age at home? And there are very many answers to this, and we'll explore some of them briefly today. We talked about the built environment, so let's think about that. How many people have more than one step to get to their bedroom? Show of hands. happens if you break something and you need to use temporarily some other means of mobilizing yourself? What do? It's very difficult. So the adaptation is the key word. So the gentleman here said adapting. That is the verb here, is adapting. And if you wait for the world to happen to you without thinking ahead, without preparing and knowing what options exist, then the world will force itself on you in a less ideal situation. Built environment also involves sidewalks. Let's say you want to take a walk. How many people feel safe walking down the street without any sidewalks? I know I don't like it. It feels more rustic, it's more pretty, it's not safe. Okay, we talk about health. Did you know that we have a significant shortage of geriatricians, of home health care workers, of nursing, and, personal experience, primary care physician? So we have a challenge in terms of our access to healthcare. For people who have financial challenges as well, we'll talk about that in a minute, it's even more significant. Mobility, we talked about that a little bit, so there's both mobility in your own home, as well as getting around to where you need to get to. Financial, I just learned a few days ago, that the number one concern that people have as they age is money. Do I have enough to keep me going as I grow older? Do I have enough money to pay for the things I need to do? And most folks, when you look at retirement income from big data, do not have enough money to keep them going as they age. And last but not least is the social infrastructure. The fact that you are here today on this Saturday morning, bike traffic notwithstanding, is a show of your acknowledgement of this deep connection to your community. You show up here, you know each other, you attend this church, I assume, pretty frequently, so that's already giving you a leg up, because that is your social infrastructure. Think about all the people you know in your life that are not connected to churches, are not connected to the community, and so are therefore very isolated. And I don't know if you have the data in your head, but it keeps ringing very soundly in my mind that social isolation has detrimental effect on your mental health and physical health. It equates to smoking 14 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
Just by being socially isolated. So we tend to underestimate the power of social connection, to think of it as frivolity. Well, la-di-da for you, having fun, but joy, connection and fun is at the heart of what makes us human, what keeps us healthy, what keeps us well, and what keeps us connected. And so, kudos for you to showing up today. This is an example for good built environment. Look at that. These roads, we're trying to make them, this is urban, maybe some of you don't really identify with this, but we're trying to make the built environment accessible and mobility friendly to everybody. See that ramp? You see that kitchen? Parks? All these are examples for beautiful spaces that are also accessible. A lot of people think, oh, I don't want to make my home accessible because it's gonna ruin its aesthetics, it's gonna decrease the value of my property. And I'm here to tell you that there are many good ways to make changes to your built environment in a fashion that would make you feel safe, healthy, and would keep it beautiful. We talked about health, I just skipped through it. See, I spoke so quickly because I know we don't have much time. Mobility, we have the senior connection here today. Wanted you to know that people's ability to get around the county is challenging us as county infrastructure, because we have 1 million people who live in this county. We have a lot of folks like you who live in more rural areas where public transportation isn't as robust as we would like it to be. And getting a person from point A to point B where they can no longer drive the car is a challenge. And what we're doing in the county is investing in as many solutions as we can with our community partners, but we recognize that it is a seriously heavy lift. And so if you'd like, we'll get into transportation in a little bit. And we'll explain why villages do that a lot. Talk about money. I'm not gonna talk about that. Okay, talking about villages. When you think about your local neighborhood, another show of hands, how many people know their neighbors well? Like, more than like, you know, like, so you have a few of you. People reporting me, I've been talking to people all over the county and even beyond, and it is the same story. It goes like this. I used to know my neighbors really well. We were really connected, and now people moved away. My kids moved away, new people came in, and it's just not the same. And we're talking about a breakdown in our community's infrastructure locally. And when people retire and the kids move out of the house, they look around and they say, where is everybody? Who am I connected to? The lucky ones who remain connected to their faith community still have that, and that's a really powerful source of support and community. For more than one reason, as you well know. But what happens when you can no longer drive to your church? I know many people who've talked to a lot of people in the community say, oh, I used to go every Sunday. I was very involved, Sunday school and all these other events, and when I could no longer drive, friend X offered to give me a ride, and then another one, but then I didn't feel comfortable asking for help anymore because I didn't want to be a burden. So then I stopped showing up, and that was the end of it. So how many of your community members are not asking for help, would love to be here with you, Saturday, Sunday, any other day, but they're not comfortable letting you know that they cannot get here on their own? And think about the loss. It's not just a loss to their spirituality, it's a loss to their community that they've been with for many years. So this is an invitation for you to think as a community, do we have everybody here? Where are the people that used to be here and not here anymore? Can we check in with them and see what's going on? So, going back to my villages. When people don't have connection to their faith community, their kids are out of the house, they are not connected to their social work environment, they find themselves really isolated. And so a lot of folks, when they reach a situation, they look around and they say, I can do something about that. I'm not going to sit idle and just let things happen. I'm going to adapt. And the adaptation is a village. And villages are local, community-based organizations formed by people like you in this room when they recognize the need to recreate, reweave the local social fabric of their communities. So some things for your social extroverts that you just have going without any effort. Those introverts, those new people in the community, they don't have it. So how do we create a way for people to connect meaningfully to one another for the purpose of relationship, friendship, joy, and mutual support? And this is the heart of the village movement. The connection, community building, and mutual support. And they do it in an intentional way. They're not waiting passively for things to happen. They set up activities, they set up events, they set up speaking opportunities. They create walking clubs, chess clubs, political discussion club if they dare, because that's some of them do. Environmental clubs, I don't know, bird watching groups, and because different villages are formed in different communities, they take on the flavor of the shape of that community. So, for example, there's a group, if you're in downtown Bethesda, and they're really invested in political science, then they will have groups that talk about international development and political science. In other groups in Tacoma Park, they're like so environmental, they'll have environmental justice groups. And so it depends on what makes people happy, what motivates them, what gets them out. And it's not one size fits all, as you well know. Even in this group of people, you've come here today, but you have different interests, different hobbies, different reasons to get dressed and get out of the house. And so villages are trying to figure out what would get people out of the house into joint community spaces to enjoy each other's company. What they also do is neighbors helping neighbors. So there was one time I was starting a village with a guy in Kemp Mill, it's now near Silver Spring, and he has some disability, a diminutive guy, and he told me, I just paid my electrician $100 to change a light bulb on my ceiling because I didn't feel comfortable climbing up the ladder. He has so many people around him. He didn't even pick up the phone, call anybody. So think about that. I think that this story tells you something that is very fundamental to his sense of isolation, the sense of embarrassment on asking for help. And he also didn't really feel comfortable paying so much money for a guy to change a light bulb. So when you think about that, when you create a neighbors helping neighbors network, you are creating opportunities for people to give back to their community, to do something good for somebody else. And you're also helping folks age at home without having to fret over every single thing. We recently did a study on how being a part of a village affects your life. And we have folks who just attended the social activities, folks who received help, and folks who volunteered. And guess what group said they got the most out of being a part of the village? You know it, by a margin. And it was pretty amazing, because by being involved, by giving, by doing for somebody else, you ultimately benefit exceedingly. So, different villages do different things. It depends on the community. You all live in this area. I think the closest village to you, I think I'm gonna name two. One of them is Potomac Community Village. It serves the entire zip code of 28854. If I had internet connection, I can show you there's an interactive map on the county's website where you can plug in your address and it will tell you if that area has a village. Each of those villages are autonomous, independent organizations. We support them as county. My job is to help them start, grow, thrive, succeed, connect, serve, but they're autonomous. We don't run that. Villages are not a county program. They're supported by us because we love them. Villages are amazing groups of people who do incredible work right underneath your noses. Okay, so the kind of type of services that people offer. The number one support villages do for one another is volunteer transportation. And I want to talk about that because when you offer a ride to somebody you know, a neighbor, it is not just that you're saving them the $60 to go to the doctor with an Uber. You are a person of their community. You know them. The ride then becomes a social engagement in addition to the actual utilitarian benefit of getting to where you need to get. So I want to call it the ride plus. And volunteer drivers love to drive other people around. They get to chat, they learn about all kinds of things. It's a wonderful way to do something while being constantly meeting new people, interesting people, lovely individuals who just need a ride. Referrals to services. Dr. McGhee had told you a lot about what's happening in the county, and villages make it a point to know about what's going on, because sometimes it's that I didn't know this thing existed that they can solve, because if a person as a part of a village connects to the village leaders who already know what's going on, then that's a conduit for connection. They don't have to scramble and figure out and try to wrestle with solutions. Tech help. Villages find all kinds of tech-savvy people of all ages, and they sometimes have, they say Saturday at 10 a.m., bring your devices, we'll help fix it, we'll install the apps you want. If there's something that really bugs you, we'll fix it. So tech cafes are a huge thing. All kinds of really cool things. So for example, not stereotyping, I'm just stating facts here. A lot of men find it difficult to just reinsert themselves in social settings. They tend to withdraw from that, especially if they live alone. So villages have a thing called the Romeo Club. Have you heard of that? They just have a bunch of men going to have lunch together. You will be successful. So, just saying. There's a bunch of other things, and so the sky's the limit. It depends on what people want and what they need. There's no prescription. The village is as pliable a concept as you want it to be. And I think I don't want to say some more. We'll move. So I guess it's done. It's telling me to stop. I will be there at the table. We have a table with many brochures and flyers. Much of what Dr. McGhee had talked about is available in printed form there. The number is printed in more than one fashion, the number you were all told through, right, because we didn't want you to have that. If you call that number, they can also tell you if you are within an area of a village. If you are not within an area of a village, you can call me, you can talk about starting one. Because in 2014, we had about 11 active villages in Montgomery County, and now we have close to 30 and 5 developing. Because people all over the county are waking up to the fact that this is a wonderful way to build their community and to do something good. So we have tremendous growth, and I can show you where villages exist, so you can join one, or if you want to start one, or if you want to start one for this area. Oh, another village that's in the area is Poolsville Seniors. Have you ever heard of them? Poolsville Seniors? Good, a few of you know them. I can tell you more about them as well. They serve more than Poolsville. They just have it in their name. And so I will be done.
Thank you.
Thank you for attention.
There is one thing that I wanted to let you know is coming. Remember I said it's the 10-year anniversary of our age-friendly initiative. Patrice and a few others is working on a steering committee to develop our community needs assessment. So I just want to let you know that's coming. We will get that over to you guys. It is a survey from your